What a rough game that was. That was no fun whatsoever. What was the final score of that game? They lose by 30?
We turned it off with 5 minutes left, right when Book hit that dagger with like 5 minutes left.
What?
134-105. The Suns win it.
So that game, it had the look of like an all-star game early on. No defense from either team, shot making, and it was kind of like one of those games where it was building up to it, and you're like, wow, this may be like an early season classic. And then something happens, and like Clay goes crazy. What was all the aggression? Like I'm sure we'll sort of figure it out. We'll see if Clay talks tonight. But I was trying to figure out like why were some of these guys so fired up? Draymond got a T. I think it was it second quarter he got the T?
I think it was the second, and then Kerr got one 2 seconds later.
And
rightfully to be upset. Like it was the Ayton when Ayton came down on him and Draymond was going in. Like that was the foul call miss. Draymond makes the shot. He wants the end.
But I don't think that's the reason why he got the T. The reason he got the T is because he did that 4 times before that, and finally the ref was just like, okay, like enough. I think Kerr was sticking up for his guys, which is, he does that very well. Sometimes, I don't know about giving up 2 free throws like that in a close game. They probably just assume like, oh, this is gonna be back and forth. We're gonna be in it. And then in the third quarter, they come out of that break, and it was just all downhill for the Warriors. Klay Thompson and Devin Booker go at it. I am going to say that because we were trying to figure out why was Klay so upset. You never see Klay that mad, right?
You see him talking trash. Like I could feel like this video gets brought up a lot. But remember that one time in the 2019 playoffs where he just kept going at it with Zach Collins.
Yeah,
but I don't know if he got the T. I don't remember that.
Yeah, what was I'm trying to figure out what the reasoning was. So the thing that Devin Booker is notorious for talking, which everybody in the NBA talks. He is also notorious for sort of talking and then losing games, I guess you could say. Because they've had some successes, and this is not a shot at D Book, because D Book is a really good player. But coming up short in the finals, coming up short last year. Last year was a bit of an embarrassment for them, I think. And that's where I think the frustration comes, is like they probably thought that they were the team that should have been in the finals last year. And then they fall flat against the Mavericks. And they weren't even competitive in that game. And they don't get to play the Warriors. And so the Warriors have the opportunity to play the Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals instead. And so I think that's where some of it comes from. Like,
well, also, do you remember that Draymond was saying, I don't know, it was a press conference or a podcast, that he was like, look, man, like no one was afraid of the Suns. Like we knew that we were going to beat them easily had they come and faced us. I mean, there's been some talking between these teams since the Suns got CP.
Yes. And, CP is definitely, he's an instigator for them. And, it's funny because in 2013, it looked like CP3 was going to be the Warriors' kryptonite with the Clippers. And that looked like that was going to be a team that was going to give the Warriors nightmares for years. And then the Warriors just started to beat them up. And not CP, but they started to own the Clippers, and then they had to break that Clippers team up and everything. So, yeah, I didn't want to see them lose by 29 points, but Reggie Miller kept saying one thing, which I sort of agree with, but it's still frustrating when you're a fan. He's just like, the Suns just wanted this one more than the Warriors. They were at home. They remember last Christmas when the Warriors went to Phoenix and beat Phoenix on Christmas. So there's a lot of stuff there. I think Phoenix is a really good team, even without the Jay Crowder stuff and the Cam Johnson stuff. When you have Devin Booker, you have Chris Paul when he is healthy. And I don't think Ayton is always really good, but one thing that I was impressed with is every time he had a mismatch, and the Warriors will mismatch often because of the way that they play defense, whether it was Draymond on him, whether it was sometimes the guards were on him, he just went at them, and there were some aggressive fouls. He was aggressively rebounding. He was playing like a big man, and so I really liked that part of Ayton there. Um, you know, I I really like this Suns team, and I've liked them for a while. And some of that, some of that aggression that they had based on last year, it totally makes sense to me. And for the Warriors to come out flat in that third quarter, that was a little disappointing. But at the same time, I don't know, it wasn't too unexpected, especially because the defense is just not there right now for them.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a team that missed the playoffs in 2020 and then gets Chris Paul and then immediately goes to the finals in 2021. They probably thought that they were starting like some dynasty or something, that they were just going to be back there each year for the next 4 or 5 years, but they kind of fell apart in that Western Conference semifinals.
My guy Shelvin is a Suns fan. He's a 49er fan. Shelvin's always supporting me and Rod. I think he's reacting to us. I like the Suns team. This is no disrespect for the Suns team. They played really good basketball tonight. I'm just wondering why the aggression and why the I don't know, the trash talk, all that stuff for game 4, in the season. But
they don't like each other, man. I could have told you that one.
But at like who though? Like Steph and CP3 have a fun sort of rivalry, but in 2015, Steph kind of leaped over him, right? Outside of that, like who else? Like there's no one other than
Book. I guess when you're talking
kind
about like individual rivalries, I think it's a collective rivalry.
Crowder would have been the one, right? Crowder is the one who plays very physical against the Warriors, and he takes all that stuff personally when he plays the Warriors. So I'm still I want to hear all the press conference stuff.
Me too.
I want to hear why Booker and Clay were having their issues. Maybe at some point, I think there's something that you had said in a tweet, or sorry, in a text. Clay was just not playing well. He was not shooting well. So when he's not shooting well, you always kind of go, he'll come back, he'll be fine. He's gonna shoot themselves hot again. And he wasn't finding it. And so I wonder if Book was just kind of needling him about that. And
I thought the refs were going to stop that one a little earlier than they did. Like we could tell the broadcast was even picked up on it, how they were just talking trash right from the get-go. And it probably took about 5 minutes for the refs to finally assess the technical. And by that point, Clay was already like so into the trash talking. Yeah. He gets his second tee. I thought they would have stopped that one earlier.
Coach Young Randall says that Kerr had to get that tee. I agree that Kerr had to get it. He had to stick up for his guy. It was a foul for sure. Draymond's not going to get that whistle because of how much the referees feel that he's just all over them, right? Like, so sometimes that's the way that they get him back a little bit, is by not giving him that whistle.
I mean, without just guessing off the top of my head, like this was for sure the most technicals assessed in a game this season. I wonder how that like compares to like last season. If you think about who got techs, Draymond, Kerr, Clay, Book, CP's tech was funny. Like he
just was like, "What's going on?"
He just like did the "what's going on," and then he just realized like, shoot, the refs have like a short whistle right now. And then by the time he knew, he realized that it was too late. Did Ayton get a tech?
There was one tech that I didn't understand what it was from. That announcers didn't say. CP. Like CP didn't even put the usual CP stank face on anybody, and he still got the tech.
Yeah, he just threw his arms up, and he's like, "Oh man!" And
he didn't stick the butt out and do the walk or anything. Yeah, I was like, "Come on." So I mean, we can break this game down a little bit. Now the fourth quarter, half of the third and the fourth was just boat race time for Phoenix. It was Ty Jerome time for Steve Kerr. I don't know, that was that was an interesting play.
Guard depth. Clay ejected, Dante DiVincenzo out. It's Steph, Moody, and JP as your guards.
Yeah,
there's maybe some guard depth there. It looked like they were playing Moody at more of a 3 and having him guard Book or Chris Paul at times too. Yeah. But I maybe just guard depth, and Kerr maybe wanted someone to spark. Like I feel like that when the Warriors, when you put those young guys in, I don't know if someone on the broadcast that said it against the Kings or if it was something that Kerr said, but I think Kerr was upset once, either in the Kings game or in the Nuggets game, that he put his young guys out there and they weren't playing too well, and you could see it in the energy too. He calls a timeout. He's upset because the young guys, when you're on the bench, should be like dying to get in and dying to prove something,
showing
and these young
showing
guys,
out to get more minutes. Yeah,
and these young guys are kind of just going through the motions, like they've made it already sometimes. And I feel like, I don't know how much the vets can like be in their ear and show them, but I almost feel like Jordan Poole needs to be a little more of a vocal leader in that sense, because he's been called the bridge of the two timelines. Him and Wiggins. Jordan Poole's my age. He's 23. All the other young guys are 19, 20, and then all the old guys are in their 30s. Jordan Poole's, I feel like, got to start to step up and be the vocal leader for that young group when they go in, because I feel like his attitude and the way his energy plays may dictate, Wiseman or Moody or Kuminga. Maybe not Kuminga. I feel like he's always just.
We'll talk about Poole in a second, because I do want to focus on him. The one thing, so it's cool to see Ayton, because that is how they want Wiseman to play, especially defensively. Ayton does not show a lot of emotion, right? But he is a big, strong dude, and he's not going to play soft. That is what Ayton is good at. Sometimes to his detriment, because you get some fouls that maybe he doesn't need. But for Wiseman, like, I think they would say, if we can get a DeAndre Ayton style out of Wiseman, we're going to be happy with that pick. I thought Wiseman played pretty decent at times. Like, there was, they found him on dunks and they were looking for him, and Draymond even threw him an alley-oop that he really needed to crush. The guy's so big, to have him actually miss dunks is frustrating to me, because those are just easy buckets. Where I would like to see him play a little bigger is in two places. The one that I have here, which is going after rebounds. He and Ayton, were battling for position. Sometimes someone would sneak around and get a rebound that I was like, man, if Wiseman just explodes and uses that length, and nobody's taking this ball away from me. He's a little bit more aggressive in that he would have had a couple of more rebounds. There was one moment where Moody wins the tip, and the ball's right there for Wiseman to go grab, and he kind of lackadaisically walks over and trips, stumbles, fumbles the ball out of bounds. And it's just like, and Kerr is just like, come on, like, just catch the ball. So they're going to go through this stuff with him, but I think he's been much better than what we remember in his rookie year. And so far, so good, I think, for Wiseman. But there are just things that I'm just like, man, just watch Ayton, how Ayton plays. Because
I think they want Wiseman, like Wiseman's skill set, and I've talked about this on my pod. I'm going to go back to Ayton, actually. But like the Ayton I watched in college would shoot threes. He would he could sometimes hit them. The thing that was wrong with him in college, in my opinion, was defensively. Goes to the bigs, and I feel like he's a pretty good defensive center, but man, the guy doesn't shoot threes anymore at all. I think he shot one today, but I think Wiseman is more skilled and versatile on offense, but we haven't seen it. But I think his skill set's there. Like in his rookie year, he was hitting some jump shots. He's kind of, he has a lot of moves that he could whip out. But yeah, so I mean, obviously Ayton for that, we've talked about Wiseman potentially being in more of like a role than trying to do too much. Like, yeah, look at Ayton. Ayton does everything perfectly in that sense. But if he wants to like step into like a bigger role or start to show the number 2 pick he was, I mean, obviously he has to focus on doing all the little things right. All that he has to master the role first before he can do this. But I've been thinking, I actually just thought about this right now. There's like a pick and roll that James Harden and Joel Embiid run that is like so deadly. And essentially, if I could paint the picture a little bit, it's James Harden, Joel Embiid, top of the key, pick and roll. We all know James Harden dribble. He could do a step back 3. So obviously the guy who's guarding him is trying to get over the screen as much as possible. But when James Harden gets through the screen, and now that his defender is trailing, he's running, he's going for the drive, and Embiid's a little staggered behind him at the free throw range. And the guy who's guarding Embiid, the center, is afraid of the Harden. He's afraid of the Harden drive, and he's also afraid of if Embiid gets it, he has a head of steam and he's going to drive.
Yep.
So he's trying to do a rim protection. He's not really guarding up on Embiid. And James Harden just like left hand pass, just like bounce passes it behind him right to Embiid for a pretty decent wide open mid range jumper.
Yeah,
I'd be interested to see. I bet Wiseman could do that. It's not that, even though like obviously Embiid's just is the best center in the league, top 2 center in the league. Like Wiseman will never become that, but that's a pretty simplified pick and roll. Obviously, it's established because of how deadly those two are and how afraid the defense is of certain things they could do. But Poole's a pretty good driver. Poole's pretty good at that. One thing that I feel like goes underlooked is Poole's playmaking. Have you noticed that lately? Like he's a really good passer, and I feel like that's been undershadowed in his career, but he's completely showing it. I feel like he just does it a little too much sometimes.
It's the problem with it, I think, is it only comes off of one-on-one. It's not as much in the flow of the offense as it is. Though he did have a nice one to Wiseman on a fast break that I thought was really good. When it comes, a lot of it comes off the one-on-one because that's the type of player he is, and
yeah,
he's gonna get those eyeballs, and I'm glad that he is looking for that. But a little bit too much dribbling sometimes. But for Wiseman, there was a play where I don't even know how to play this. Like I would love to hear, the Warriors big man coach talk about how to play this, but Book was I don't remember exactly where he was. I don't think he was quite in the paint, but he's kind of patiently trying to get the Warriors to decide who's going to come out on him because Ayton is also right in the paint. So Wiseman has to pick between Book, who's kind of just doing this thing where he's showing, and Wiseman did not come up to guard him. So then Book just shot the floater right over him. And I was like, man, it would be great to know if Wiseman is supposed to pick and then go hard. Because if he goes hard at Book, then maybe Book dumps it off to Ayton, and there's probably a guard there that Ayton is probably going to score over. But I was very interested to see that play because, as we know, Wiseman is very athletic. He's got the long arms. He wasn't decisive enough because he was about to jump out on the shot, but Book had already released it. And that's the other thing. I want to see Wiseman go after some of these shots, man. I think he's in his mind, he's worried about rebounding and getting position and making sure that he's boxing out the right guy, which is very smart. But I want to see him wipe out some of these shots because he has the ability. And when you can wipe out a shot, Draymond is going to gas you up. You possibly are going to start a fast break, and this team is so good in the open court. Give me one or two of those just to kind of kick these guys in the butt a little bit, and just to be that rim guy, that guy who you can depend on. Hey, if we make a mistake or we take a chance and it gets by us, we know we got the cleaner behind us who can wipe stuff out. He's not there yet. I don't think players are really afraid of going and attacking the rim with him there yet. So that's another thing that hopefully he'll improve on. But it's cool to watch. I'm enjoying watching his growth on the basketball court because you can just see this like blossoming player and just in front of our eyes, and I'm just happy to see him and watch him grow.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And I think that you're right that, if he does commit and let's say he misses the block, especially against a center like Ayton, most taller centers, you could think of like Capella or just think of a taller center. If he commits to Book in that play and Book misses the shot, it's just an easy, like Ayton's going to get the rebound, dunk it. That's probably what he's worried about. It happened on the other end too. Ayton committed to, I'm not sure if it was Curry or it was Curry. And Curry, same situation. Ayton commits, goes to block Curry. Curry doesn't get blocked. He just misses the shot and easy Wiseman put back. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just, I as a defender, I don't even know necessarily what the right play is in that situation, whether it's like just show heavy to Book and then just run back to Ayton to try to bother Book just a little bit. But Book's so poised, man.
Yeah. He wasn't going to be rushed in that moment. He was like, I'm going to move you. You're not going to move me, which is why he's such a good player.
Exactly.
All right, let's talk about Jordan Poole.
Thank you.
Jordan Poole was really good offensively, especially in that first quarter when Steph went out of the game. Steph did not have a really good game tonight. I don't even know what he ended up with, but Jordan Poole had to kind of pick up the slack there because Klay was not shooting well, obviously. Steph was Steph finished 7 of 17, so he had 21 points, but Steph was a minus 17 on the floor tonight. And so Jordan Poole picked up the slack, and I think I want to say he had 14 in the first half, so that means that he only had 3 in the second half because he ended up with 17 points. So from that perspective, I was enjoying watching him play. I like the way he utilizes all of his skills, and he's got to be a tough guy to defend. But on the other end, man, Jordan Poole, the defender, is a guy who Jordan Poole, the ball handler, would love to attack. Like he wishes he could that himself was guarding him on defense, because he would eat Jordan Poole, the defender, up. And this is one of those things where we talk about Jordan Poole. Reggie Miller's calling him 140 for the $140 million man. And like the defensive effort is just not there. He watches a lot, and he got beat on backdoors. He got beat. There was a couple times where he got lucky because they missed wide open shots where the communication wasn't there. And he's like kind of looking around, like just doing that. He had 5 fouls, which means lots of reaching. So yeah, just defensively, I thought he was really bad tonight. And, I think most of us think that he can be an all-star because he's got the skill set, but on defense, he is really bad right now. Some of that is the team, because the team is really bad defensively right now. Even the starters. I know our buddy Ben Cruz, when they put that second team lineup in, he's just like, oh my God, these guys are killing me. That I'm calling that the Ben Cruz lineup for the rest of the year, by the way. But you can't even blame them. You could blame them in the Sacramento game. You could blame them in the Denver game. You cannot blame them in this game. It was the first team was just giving up buckets, but they were scoring buckets. So it was like, okay, you score, we score. But they just could not. They could not keep up with Phoenix in that level. But yeah, I think Poole, there's a lot to be desired there defensively, and I want to see the improvement, because last year we were talking about it in the playoffs. They were taking him out of games because teams are focusing on him, and that is my worry as we as we play some big games here. Same thing. They're just going to pick on him, and he's got to show out, man. He One thing before I'll let you go, but I'll let you do your Poole spiel. When Clay got kicked out, that was the time for Jordan to shine, right?
Yep.
Instead, he was too busy talking up Book like they're buddies, and then that's what happened.
I guess before I start my spiel, has Jordan Poole, have we seen him? Like, I feel like I've seen him talk trash one time to someone else. I don't remember though.
He talks trash, and his celebrations are like talking trash, but it doesn't seem like he really gets in anybody and challenges them in that way.
I feel like he's challenged one person, and I forget who it is. But anyways, I feel like, we heard it in the Denver game how Doris Burke went on for like 15 minutes on the Dre Poole, the whole incident.
So I didn't get to listen to that because my Hulu recorded the Fitz and Kalena version of the game, so I didn't get to hear it.
You would have thought someone died by their tone and how she was talking about it. But, we've said how we might hear it every single broadcast. I'm not sure if I heard it on this broadcast. Did they mention it? I missed the first quarter, so that probably would have been the time for them to say something. Did you hear anything?
They didn't really mention it, but who did mention it was Andrew Bogut on the Tim Kawakami podcast.
Oh, I haven't listened to that. I need to listen to that.
He specifically said that stuff hasn't happened on teams that he's been a part of. So
interesting.
He's like all these old school guys say, "Oh, that happens all the time." He's like, "No, arguments happen, and then it just gets broken up." He's like, "Actual fist fights do not really happen that much."
And I bring that up because, we're sick and tired of hearing about it. But if there was one time to reference it, I think it's right now, because if this was last year, Draymond would have yelled at him by now on those defensive lapses. And I'm worried that because that incident happened, Draymond's too afraid. I don't know about afraid, but just doesn't feel like it's his place now to be able to chew him out on some of those defensive lapses. I swear it would have happened by now, like especially in that game, in a high intensity game, it would have happened that Draymond would have yelled at him. But I don't know if he feels like it's in his right or he has the place to do it anymore. And that We might need to keep an eye on that.
Well, but you know what that means though. That means it is up to Steph. That means it is up to Clay. It is up to Loon Rebel, right? Like if Draymond can't do that because of their relationship, then it is up to those other guys who are also team leaders. Loon was the voice of reason when all that stuff happened.
Yeah.
So it'd be kind of interesting if who's the one that kind of takes JP aside and talks to him about this stuff. Because I mean some people are just gonna physically whatever there's an intensity that is necessary to be a good defender that I don't know if he has sometimes yet because he is still a young player, but a lot of it is just effort, right? And wanting to be good at it. Like you can look at Steph Curry from the beginning of his career and you can go to like the 2016 playoffs when they're like ISOing him, and that the defender today, or we'll even say last year's playoffs, that guy is completely different defender, and they don't ISO him that much anymore. So it can happen. And Steph just really, really wanted to be a much better defender. So that's probably and he's might be the guy to talk to Jordan about that.
He could. I mean, we should also mention that it's up to the 23-year-old, $140 million man to be like, wait, this isn't good what I'm doing. Because like you said, yeah, it's a lot of effort. It's also using your brain a little bit. And I just think that he helped a couple of times in the paint and helped off of his shooter when he shouldn't have. And then he goes to close out. The shooter pump fakes, gets by him, and it's just an easy bucket or of a foul by someone in the middle. It's just very easy. And I say that, I mean, who knows when you're out on the court, obviously, but it's very just use your brain a little bit, man. Like you've played this game your whole life. You've been in the most intense moments already as a young 23-year-old. Use your brain.
And he knows how the Warriors defense and the Warriors offense is when they scrimmage, right? He's got a guard. He's got to go. They probably run him through the rigor constantly.
Yeah.
On that team. All right, so let's talk about.
I think we lost him.
When we talked on,
we lost you. We lost you for about 7 seconds there.
Oh no, can you hear me now? There's something
you.
funky. There's something funky going on with the Wi-Fi here. Can you see me and hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I think
okay,
you're good.
So we missed. We haven't talked about two games. The last time we talked was Tuesday after the opener in against the Lakers, and so I kind of wanted to get your biggest surprise so far, and also your biggest disappointment so far in this young season. And you can start with whichever one you want with the team so far. So pick which one you want, and then I'll follow you.
Ooh, biggest surprise. I think we had said a lot of times on this podcast we thought that Moody was going to be a staple in the rotation, almost like it was solidified because of the depth they had and the depth they were potentially missing at a position that he would have been the next man in line. In those first couple games, like he didn't really play against the Lakers. He didn't really play, and it took Dante DiVincenzo to go out for him to like be a staple in today's game, in the Kings game, I believe. And so I think that would be a big surprise for me. Is there another one? Like I actually haven't thought of this.
I'll give you one.
Yeah.
Andrew Wiggins' early game aggression. Like that dude is coming out and trying to score the ball right away. Like I like seeing that. Now today, he did a really good job of that today, but then his stats don't show, and he was actually the worst plus minus for the Warriors. I'm not sure that really means too much in this game, but his aggression, man, he's really come out looking to score. He's showing some different moves, like maybe he had worked on during the season. He's still got that little step back that he loves, but lots of moves in the post with the pivot and shooting off of different pivots and stuff. So I've been really enjoying seeing that for surprise for me.
That's a good one. Yeah, I mean, you worry though, right? Because of what Timberwolves fans warned us when we got Wiggins, that like, yeah, he'll look good for 5 games and then he'll look like shit for 6 to 7. And so, this is in that, and he what, like, I don't know about terrible, but it's because he was able to be a fourth guy on a team that he was able to shine more versus being the number 2 guy in Minnesota. But there's still, like, you could tell, like, pre All-Star break, when Wiggins was selected as a starter, like, he was playing awesome. And then he gets selected as a starter, and then he kind of goes in his slump, like, as of last year. So I'm a little worried that I'm a little less worried because of, he's comfortable where he's at.
And we
He
saw
was
the playoffs.
We saw the playoffs, and now he's 4 games in and playing awesome still. So I feel like I'm a little less worried about that regression that he might have this time around, because I'm with you right there. He's been awesome.
Can I give you my disappointment?
Yeah.
JaMychal Green, man, he's no Otto Porter. Right? You were trying to tell me that he was this guy right here, Otto. And so far, he has not been Otto. And I'm probably being a little hard on him. I think Kerr trusts him a lot in what he does, but he has not hit the open 3, the corner 3. Every time he puts the ball on the floor, it is not good. And he doesn't have great hands, at least from what we've seen so far. So, I hope that he is just trying to get comfortable in the system and trying to learn it. But yeah, so far, I think JaMychal Green, he had a really good first game, but the last 3 games, he's been pretty bad.
I don't know if this Basketball Reference is accounting for this last game. JaMychal shooting 42% from 3, man, on 2.3 attempts, shooting 42% from 3. Yeah, I think now looking back at the Otto thing, I think I've always subconsciously thought of it more of late season Otto and playoffs Otto more than the sharpshooting Otto. But I just think that, Otto, and I probably said this 3 times on the podcast, but Otto in the playoffs was like he was doing the dirty work, and then teams were just still guarding him at the 3 because of his rapport. And I think JaMychal is a similar way, just less of a 3, more of a dirty work. And I think I've said that already before, but yeah, it's been a tough stretch for him. I think these rotations are still weird. It doesn't fit yet.
He's not playing with Steph. He's not playing with Clay. He's playing with the young guys. So that's why I said I'm probably being a little harsh on him. But yeah. So the Warriors play on Thursday, and you're going to go to that game. Miami, they're 1-3 so far this year. They're not scoring at all. They are they're giving up 5 more points than they are scoring. And it's going to be an interesting game because they always have a good team, but you kind of wonder with the way that this roster is built with Lowry and Oladipo. Not the Lowry's getting up there, and Oladipo seems to always be hurt, so they're relying on some young guys. Our guy Nikola Jovic, didn't he get kicked out of a game already or something? Like
he got suspended because he left the bench during an altercation. I don't think he's gotten any valuable playing time yet.
Yeah, the 19-year-old who we saw in the California Classic.
I don't think he's graduated high school per sources.
But any thoughts? Are you looking forward to this game
on the team? I'm looking forward to the game. I'm interested in being at Chase, but I mean the Heat I had them, I think 6th or 7th on my predictions so far, and they've played hard teams. I think they've played the Celtics, they played the Raptors, I want to say twice now. I forget the other team they've played, but they're missing a power forward. PJ Tucker is not on the team anymore. He went to the 76ers and they didn't replace him. So obviously they're probably on the look for a Jay Crowder, who's on the trade market right now. I made a hot take in case that doesn't happen, that maybe Jovic does step into that spot, because they're playing Caleb Martin right now at the 4, who's probably a 2-guard height. Jimmy Butler has to play down a little bit. Yeah. And so they're just really missing depth at that position, which I don't know if is the reason they're 1-3, but it's definitely a big contributor. I kind of wanted to ask you, or maybe float a topic. I know we're trying to get out of here soon, but I think we're noticing here that I don't think they're trying to win 72 games.
No,
You know,
no way.
they're like easily not trying to do that. I think last year they had something to prove. A lot of people counted them out. This year, it's kind of like, what more? It's the famous Steph quote. Like, what are they going to say now? You know, that's kind of the mentality they're running with, and I feel like this season is more to. I think this season is more for the young guys, so they don't have to go get an Otto Porter Jr. or a Gary Payton in the free agency. So they don't have to go get a DiVincenzo and JaMychal Green in the free agency. Those young guys will step into those roles. I think that's what they'll look at as a successful season. Obviously, they want the championship. That's the successful season. Championship. I don't know if it's or bust, but you know, I think that's what they'll view. Like, if these young guys can step into those roles, that'd be huge for them. And you know, you look at, as much as people want to win this game, there are teams that have more to prove, and two, want to prove it. Phoenix Suns, again, I don't know if it's counting this game. Devin Booker, 39.7 minutes per game. Mikal Bridges, 38.3 minutes per game. Chris Paul, 33. DeAndre, 32. The Warriors, Stephen Curry, 33.3 points per game. That's already 6.4 minutes less than Book. Andrew Wiggins, 32.7. Jordan Poole, 27. Draymond Green, 26. Clay, 23. We know Draymond and Clay are on a minutes restriction, but that shows you, that first night of the TNT opener, the Celtics and the 76ers played. Both those teams went like 8 deep. They just like went straight into like playoff rotation. You go to the Lakers Warriors, and that's where the Warriors bust out a 10 to 11 man rotation. Like they are, leaning more into into just seeing, I think, what these guys can do, figuring out rotations on the go. And I think they're going to take their time. I have them as a 3 seed, and they could fall lower. I don't think they're too worried. I feel like they still want to keep maybe home court in the playoffs.
I would not want to slide past the 4 seed if I was them.
Yeah, neither would I.
But so it like I think what you're saying is that Kerr is willing to take some losses in order to make sure that the team is healthy and that the young players get reps, because that's what he keeps saying, right? He's like, they just need more reps. They just need more reps. I think I'm in, as long as they are winning the games that they should win. But when you start getting closer, let's say 25 games into the season, if they are 17-8, I think we're good with this plan. If they are 13-12, then you're like, oh, I don't know about, like, when are we going to start playing our guys a little bit more? I think the other thing to think about is, look at who's undefeated so far in the NBA. We have we have 2 undefeated teams, and the Bucks have only played 2 games, so they're 2-0. The Portland Trailblazers are undefeated in the West. And Phoenix is going to be up there. They look really good. The Pelicans look good, though. We'll see. They may have some injury concerns. But then you look at the other 2 teams. These guys are supposed to be the worst teams in the league. The Spurs and the Jazz are also 3-1, which means that some of these teams who are supposed to be good are losing some ball games, like your favorite Minnesota Timberwolves there at 2-2. Those poor guys. Dallas also 1-2. I know they played a really fun game against Pelicans earlier today. So some of this is going to be like, okay, where are we in the standings? How are we doing against some of these teams? Like, if they can play the Lakers and the Kings, they're going to play them both 3 more times, and they're going to be fine, right? Because the Warriors are going to beat up on teams like that. They may not win every single game, but they're going to beat teams like that. And they'll have to test themselves. Today was a good test, and Phoenix was just much better. But Memphis on Christmas, that's going to be a great test. Denver. The Warriors came back in that game, but man, you cannot just not play defense for a half, and have the other team score 70 points. So there will be moments where I think, that they'll just be like, okay, this is a game we kind of have to win. So let's really go all out here. I wonder, though, the thing that I would wonder about is, even when you're giving all of these young players all of this time and all these reps, you're still not playing Jonathan Kuminga very much.
Mm-hmm.
He looks scared to shoot the ball right now. He had one nice dunk. He had another one where if he would have just dunked, he would have had an easy bucket, and he tried to finesse it, and instead of go through the guy who he clearly could have gone through, he missed a three. But like it's guys like that where I'm like, man, this is the guy that we want to get out there and see what he has, and he's not looking great. Moses played a lot today. He looks good, but there's an athleticism thing with him. I think he's going to hit the open corner three, and he's trying to get to the bucket, but that's when he's forcing stuff. He's getting a shot blocked. I would like to see a little bit more of a mid range from him because I think he's such a talented guy and he's such a smart guy. I think he could do that. We saw that late in the game, but yeah, I want to see the young guys get the opportunity. If by reps Kerr's having to play Ty Jerome and Dante DiVincenzo, we know what DiVincenzo can do. DiVincenzo is going to be a really good role player, but I want to see Moody and Kuminga, man. I really want to see them get out there and play with some of these better players because if Kuminga is playing with Draymond, he's going to get some easy buckets. If Moody is playing with Steph, he's going to get some open threes. When they're playing with each other and then they're playing with Jordan only, they're not going to get those opportunities like they are with the starters.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right there. And I heard, because I didn't watch the G League Ignite tape like that when Kuminga and Jalen Green were there, but apparently Jalen Green was like the primary scorer, like the go get your bucket guy, not really looking to create as much, just looking for his shot first. Kuminga was apparently the playmaker there, and he was the guy who was finding everyone. I'd be interested in going to see some of those highlights.
Point
on
Kuminga.
But I mean, if that could be something that really changes the dynamic of this young core if he is able to pick that up. But I mean, I feel like we're more worried about some of the little things first before he starts venturing more into that aspect.
I mean, there could be things in practice as to the reason why he's not playing.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it has got to be lineup fit too. Like we know that the lineup fit is going to be hard, but there's going to be a game where Draymond gets a rest, and I would like to see Kuminga with Looney and Curry and Thompson and Wiggins, and I would like to see what he does there, right? Like, so those are the games I'm a little bit more interested in seeing them play. When it's just the hockey lineups, the Ben Cruz lineup, it's not as fun to watch because that the offense is just these guys are going to be doing a lot of standing around, watching Jordan boogie, with the basketball on the string, which is fun because Jordan's great, but that's not necessarily how I want to see those young players play. I want to see them with the vets and with the good players because I think they could eat off of those opportunities.
So, yeah, we're gonna see those games on like back-to-backs and against bad teams already. Let's just see them with the vets for now.
Yeah. All right. So you're going to go to the game on Thursday, so we'll get some firsthand viewing knowledge from you the next time we record. We'll have to look into the schedule. I was kind of looking at the schedule and seeing when the next opportunity to record is, because you're going to go to the game on Thursday. Then they don't play again until Saturday. They have the Hornets in Charlotte. And then after that they play back-to-back, Charlotte and Detroit this upcoming weekend. That's pretty interesting. So maybe we'll have to do I think I got to do a 49er podcast on Sunday night. So but we'll figure it out because those are going to be some fun games just because of the fact that those, they should boat race both of those teams, but the Pistons are going to be frisky because they got all that young talent, and
Charlotte hasn't been awful for some reason without LaMelo.
So, all right. I think we're good here.
Can I say one more thing before we sign off?
Uh-huh.
I'll try to make this one quick. And you kind of just got to let me roll with this one. If no one, whoever's listening, if you're not on Twitter, you will not understand this whatsoever. But there was, just addressing the elephant in the room here, there was a podcast that, had some words to say about fan created podcasts that don't have credentials, that don't have insider access, that don't have, just, I guess they just don't like the idea of two fans doing a podcast because, what are they going to listen to it for? What are they going to gain out of it? And then he capped it off by this individual capped it off by saying that the podcast that he was basically subliminally tweeting or subtweeting was associated with the Blue Wire Network. And I went back to the drawing books and had to think of who he could be talking about. I was thinking of all the podcasts on the Blue Wire Network. I don't know how many I could name off the top of my head, but you think of Light Years, it's like, no, probably not. And then you get to ours, and it's like, man, they were really talking about us.
The Death Lineup,
the Death Lineup,
and Death Lineup,
scared of the Death Lineup, and one, yeah, our podcast audio sounds better than yours, and two, we got 2 words for you, Cyrus. Just cue the music at some point, but maybe we could do that in post-production. All right, that was my spiel.
Well, that guy got a lot of attention. I saw Blue Wire, Kevin, KJ I think they made a shirt based off of what he said, and yeah, we'll see what happens with that. It's gonna be, I don't know. I think he'll he got his like 10 seconds of fame based off of a take. He probably thought it was a hot take, and he's just probably frustrated that some of those fan podcasts are a little bit more popular than his. But oh well, maybe he'll, he should probably apologize and just go on his merry way. But
yeah,
I don't know.
He should.
I don't know.
He probably should. He's just trying to. What am I looking for? He's just like trying to he's trying to make sure you can't put the entertainment, the way people consume entertainment, he's trying to like gatekeep it. It's like, man, this is more than just sports. Like, some people listen to these strictly for entertainment. Like, even if Bill Simmons didn't have the access and the insider info, it's like just such an interesting person, the way he talks, I'd still listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
So he just can't gatekeep the way people entertain or consume entertainment.
Yeah, he's frustrated. That was his Clay moment. Clay got kicked out of the game. That was Cyrus. He was just,
it was his first ejection,
throwing flames at people for no reason whatsoever. So Light Years was like, what did we do other than create a popular podcast with a great community of listeners? My guy, what he should just ask them, like, hey, how can I get more listen? Like, what did you guys do? How can I, I got this credential. I get to go to these games. Connor, at least he's a writer, so he writes stuff. I don't know what Cyrus does other than that podcast, but otherwise,
just keep the Death Lineup out your mouth, man.
Yeah, leave us alone, man. We're just having fun. All right, so that'll be it. So we'll be back at some point next week, and Brian will have a firsthand view of Warriors Heat. So we'll talk about that, and then they got some fun games this weekend. The Charlotte and Detroit Charlotte is not as fun without LaMelo, but Detroit,
I think he might be back soon.
So yeah, so hopefully he's back, and Detroit's going to be fun. So, all right, so that is it from here. We will see you all later. For Bri, I am Double G. We'll see you when we see you. Peace out.